Basement, level vibes with another one, straight up, blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the truth. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop.
Let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah.
This is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you, so call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Hi.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. All right, we're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's
Good evening and welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benchop. Thank you so much for sharing the link. Let's get straight into business. Um, right off the business, you heard there the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, actually saying, bold faced, said that there will be a second swearing in of a Trump administration, even after Biden had won, the Democrats had won the presidential elections. So you can just imagine if he was so bold to say that there would be a second swearing in of a Trump administration, even though Trump had lost the elections. Then he went on and he said, look, when all of the votes have been counted, all of the valid votes have been counted. This was not his tune for Guyana. He didn't mention that about Guyana. In fact, they knew, and he knew what they were up to. Listen to him again, please.
Mr. Secretary,
Hi.
is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. All right, we're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today.
Pretty sure, but he's out. He's gone. Never coming back. And I tell you, just for oil and the billions of dollars that caught the attention of all these covetous individuals who are now flocking into Guyana, feeling as though Guyana is now their territory and they're going to do everything. So when all the oil have been drilled out, there's no money to be counted for Guyanese. Absolutely none whatsoever. All right, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. We are going to rock and roll this evening. Hopefully, later on, we will be joined by J.R. Crawford and Wayne Caesar. It's Thursday, so we're going to cruise through. We got some things to discuss indeed. But I came across this here. Secret recordings, $1 million rewards, and family betrayal. How the U.S. hunted down El Chapo's sons. $1 million rewards and family betrayal. How the U.S. hunted down El Chapo. There's a reason why. I put that up there. Many of you have been through this here on 107.1 FM. And there's always a reason when we put something up or when we say something. We may not say it all, you know what I mean? We may not put it all out there, but it's like a dry fish. You know, when you put fish in the sun to dry, some of our foreigners, those folks who watch the show for whatever information, they probably won't understand when you put fish to dry. Anyways, on the watch list, moving to Guyana, a lot of those folks are on the watch list, and they must know that Uncle Sam has a very, very long arm, and they know how to get to you, right? And by every and any legal means necessary, they will get to you somehow or the other. All right, tell you what, I'm wondering, I was discussing this with Lemon just prior to coming on the air, whether the police, they are going to go after the investigations of Fagundes, who was murdered in front of the Palm Court. And I'm wondering whether any such information pertaining to the CCTV camera, any text messages or whatever, I tend to think a lot. Sometimes I don't even sleep, right? And even when I'm sleeping, I'm actually thinking that whether this device, this phone that the PS is saying that was confiscated, well, it was. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It was confiscated by U.S. authority. And they didn't take the phone to just look into it and say, you know what? Hey, this is a nice phone, Tommy. I kind of like this here. I wish I had one for my. No, they didn't take the phone because of that. No, they took it because okay, you know why they took it. Come on, guys. We don't have to spell everything out to you. Anyways, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benshaw. We're going to rock and roll for about, let's say, 45 minutes or so. If I get me a Red Bull in the studio, I may go over for another 10 or 15 minutes. But for this time, it is, 40 minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Guyana, and outside of Guyana, Eastern Standard Time. It's morning, I believe, already. Or, yep, it's morning in the UK. So good morning to you guys. Let's see here. What else is happening before we get to the studio and have J.R. Crawford to come on? Maybe CZ is going to join us as well. I'm not sure. But Robeson Ben hasn't said anything concerning other than he said concerning his whether it is accurate that his U.S. visa was revoked. What he did say is that Guyana is a bed of roses. In other words, Robeson Ben, so undiplomatic, so silly of a big man, said basically to hell with the U.S. That Guyana is a bed of roses. That doesn't answer the question. Saying it's trash doesn't answer the question whether your visa was revoked or not. The permanent secretary may right? May has said, admitted that her visa was revoked. Right there and then, her visa was actually revoked, her U.S. visa, that is. But interestingly, in a statement issued by her yesterday, she is claiming, and this entire statement is comical. It is comical, but the part where it says here that subsequently during my return journey, I was advised that my U.S. visa was revoked. That is what she is saying. She would have been advised right there and then on the 8th of April that her visa was revoked. And at no time the CBP, the Border Patrol agents, are not going to suggest to her that if she wants to, you can go into the U.S., you can leave the airport and walk around a little. It's okay, go ahead. And I am almost certain that that never happened. And this is another interesting part of this so-called wishy-washy statement. The permanent secretary is saying here that I wish to clarify that I was referred to for a routine secondary check. End of quote. With that, she continues. There was a misunderstanding. What misunderstanding, please? Can you call a press conference? Don't hide behind some silly statement issued. What misunderstanding over my official cell phone? Can you say, May Thomas? What exactly was this misunderstanding? What could that misunderstanding have been? Tell us. Don't tell the Mohammeds. Tell us. Call a press conference. Tell us what was that misunderstanding over my official cell phone without me being able to advise my officials. What are you going to be able to advise your officials about what? This is so confusing that even that young lady that usually, I don't see much of her. The guys usually do videos with her around by Stabrook Market. I think her name is, forget her name, Megan. Even Megan, I have, and we all have more respect for Megan than we have for this vegan or vagrant, right? Is saying here that I wish to clarify that I was referred to for a routine secondary check. There was a misunderstanding over my official cell phone without me being able to advise my officials. What nonsense, what crap is this? And then she went on to say, the arrogance of this dunce. She went on and she stated, this is what she said. I advised. You advised? You have no saying over this. You can advise them about nothing. You are being detained. You are being detained. What advice you can advise somebody? You advise them that they should send the cell phone to the Honorable Robeson. Thereafter, I was allowed the choice. Hear this here again. Thereafter, I was allowed the choice of entering the United States. Really? You were allowed the choice? And you had a ticket booked right there and then to jump on a plane and go to China? But yet you were allowed a choice? No. I am saying this, that she should come forward to say whether her visa was revoked right there and then, and whether she knew right there and then that her visa was revoked. It was stamped in her passport, stamped, and the time probably would be there too. She said, subsequently, during my return journey, I was advised. Advised by whom? When you clocked in at the airport to travel or something, you were told that you can't travel. Okay, could have been true because it happened to IRFAAN Ali when he was about to head to Canada. They actually stopped him, blocked him from going to Canada. Anyway, she continues. Subsequently, during my return journey, I was advised that my US visa was revoked on the 10th of April 2023, and that I would have to make alternative arrangements to return to Guyana. Okay, so when she found out that her visa was revoked, according to her, on the 10th of April, and she had to make what alternative travels to Guyana, which means she had to stop over through the UK. Who paid? Who paid? Who went to Guyana in that travel agency and paid almost 1 million Guyana dollars? Who paid that money, May? May I ask? Who paid that money? Come on, you can say it. You can tell us. It's okay. You know, you get close friends. Who paid that money? Should I say it right out here, loud? You want me to say it? I'll hold back on that. Assalamu alaikum. Who paid that money? Assalamu alaikum, right? Okay, good. Who paid that money? All right, here what's happening. Lots of people, the former mayor of New Amsterdam, who did nothing for the people of New Amsterdam, absolutely nothing, nothing at all. The mayor of New Amsterdam has joined the PPP. Forget about that. Forget. Can't even bring a single vote. I heard Jack, they forced her to put on a red blouse. And that blouse probably wasn't even hers. I am almost certain that she borrowed it from Kwame McCoy. She must have borrowed that blouse from Kwame McCoy. That is Kwame McCoy's blouse, if you can call it a blouse. I don't know. But let's get back to the permanent secretary. We have our guest on tonight. Well, they're kind of like they're in-house guests. They're commentators now. They moved up. They're political commentators. Before we get to them, and let me just ask JR, we're getting a terrible feedback from JR's side. But let me say this. The crown, we got an award for her. What do you think she should get? Because this is a PPP dunstug. Regardless of what we say, a PPP dunstug. That is what she is. A PPP dunstug. What award should we give her before we have our guests start talking? What award should we present her tonight? Well, somebody said it's a blazer, not blouse. Oh, blouse and skirt. All right. Thank you so much. It's a blazer. Okay. What award should we get? Let's see. If I were to interview her, how would she look on this show? Hey, operator, can you see if it's a possibility that we get the PS? Can we have a word with the PS, please? Good night, Madam PS. How are you? Meh. Meh. These people in Guyana, in the regime, the PPP regime, are silly. Can you guys say hi? This is meh. Mr. Crawford, how are you doing, sir? Mr. Caesar, how are you, sir?
Pretty good, Mark. Good evening. Good evening to all the listeners and viewers.
Come on, guys. Meh. Meh. These are the folks who are putting on their red t-shirts, their red blazer, their red blouse, and all sort of things. And then that statement that the PS put out, expect. Do they expect people to believe that? Come on, guys, you don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to speak up after me or just to repeat after me. Meh, meh, meh. Mr. Crawford, let me welcome you guys to Straight Up. We got some things that we want to talk about this evening, and we will be talking about those things and more. Good evening, gentlemen. Again, welcome.
Good evening,
Come on,
Mark.
guys. It's Thursday. Let's get some energy, like some politicians. Good evening, guys.
Yeah, good evening, Mark.
Yeah, thank
Good evening
you.
to the
Eat
listeners
some
and
dry
viewers.
coconut and sugar. Mr. Crawford, good evening to you, sir. Yeah, good evening. We're not hearing you, sir. Mr. Crawford, we're not hearing you.
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me now?
We're hearing you now, loud and
Yeah.
clear. You guys are all dressed up. One of them pulley turtleneck till up the side here. I'll make joke with our political commentators. Let's start off with Mr. Crawford. First of all, extend condolences on behalf of the passing of your family member. We hope you're strong enough to hold it out through for another half hour or so on the show, sir. How are you holding up?
Well, it's life. I mean, it's not something that you want to deal with, but you have to deal with it. It's an
Absolutely.
unfortunate circumstance. It's sudden. There was no indication of any sickness. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So condolences to you and your entire family, indeed.
thank you.
Welcome. Mr. Caesar, what's going on? Tax season is out, right? You're not as busy now.
Don't say that, Gia. Don't say that, Mark. I'm always busy, man.
Always busy indeed.
Right.
Let's get straight down into business. Take the first shot at that, Mr. Caesar. Your take on the so-called statement coming out from the permanent secretary.
Well, basically, for the permanent secretary, she's just trying to cover her grounds to the best of her ability. She said a routine. What caught my attention when she said a routine secondary check? A routine secondary check for an official, because she is an official. You know, it's eye-opening because that don't typically happen, Mark. You have a routine secondary check of individuals for the most part, right? So she's trying, and like the president tried to pull it off yesterday by, he was very dismissive. I watched his press conference yesterday, very dismissive, didn't want to speak to people really, didn't want to come forth with any answers, but he was there with the ambassador to the US, and he's trying to be up close with her and mingle and everything. But trust me, there is something going on there. They're onto something. There's a reason why the permanent secretary was pulled over and given a secondary check. There's a reason why her passport is revoked. Your passport wouldn't be revoked just like that, Mark. Okay, people don't just revoke people's passport just like that.
Well, the border agents do have the power. If you even sneeze on one of them, they probably do that. But this is more.
Yes,
more than
not
just
like that.
But yeah, 1 second. This is more than just that. But border agents, if you sneeze or you look at some of them hard, they do have that power. But she can't tell us that that is what happened in this case. In fact, the people may have, months ago, they may have had intentions that, look, this is going to be revoked. But we need to see her. We need to talk to her first. Mr. Crawford.
Mark, when you when you look at it, when you listen to that statement or you read that statement, it tells you that it was prepared out of deceitfulness, the cover-up mentality. Nowhere in the United States, once somebody's pulled in, they are going to be allowed to either give them a choice to stay or to leave. They'll tell you what they want you to do. And if it wasn't a problem, she would have been able to come back through the United States on that route. But again, we're seeing the mentality we're seeing is the same behavior that happens in Guyana, and they think that it's going to fly in other countries. It won't. And it's an embarrassing situation for us to be in as a country when we have these sort of questioning going on in people in high positions. Now, what this is showing the Guyanese people is that America, yes, they may have some evil-minded ones that overthrew our democratically elected government, but it also shows that the law enforcement, these departments are not interfered by people in high places. They are allowed to govern and carry out the laws by themselves. Where in our country, you don't find that. You find all the law entities taking command from one person. So we're seeing where the law runs its course, and nobody's above the law in the US as compared to here. Look at Donald Trump. He was a former president. Yes, he was pulled into the courts. But because of our association, that is why we get ourselves questioned in certain issues. And if we are governmental official, we have to be careful how we operate, because not only it affects us internationally, but also in this country and later on down the road. Guyana would not remain the same where people who are associated with questionable characters are going to be allowed to roam free. There's going to come a time where things are going to change and people are going to be showed up. So what Maid was showing us there with that statement is total bullcrap.
Certainly. Let's head back to Mr. Caesar. Mr. Caesar, you were making a point, and let me apologize. I just wanted to make another point on top of what you said, but I didn't mean to interrupt you and abruptly went over to Mr. Crawford. Well said, Mr. Crawford. Continue, Mr. Caesar. My apologies, sir.
No, and Mark, I just wanna follow up with that by saying, look, this is a start of something big, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion, because May is down the chain, man. She is not up the chain. All right. And me personally, yes, we may have something on May, but I'm not going to be satisfied until we catch the big fish. And we all know who the big fish is. Right? So this is the start of something. To me, we need to continue our investigations. The investigations need to continue into whatever it is that they're able to capture from that phone. They need to follow that trail. I know it's going to lead to big things. Okay? I'm not satisfied until I see the big fish,
You're talking about that she is basically a little thing.
Yes, yes, Mark.
In Guyana,
there's a mastermind behind everything, and we all know who that person is.
In Guyana, she considers herself a big fish, but she's being reduced to a little, as we see on the quarantine, cocobelly, right? Or cacabelly.
Right.
That's what she's being reduced to.
Correct.
All right. So there are other things we want to talk about. We'll get back to that.
Mark, before you step away from that point.
Sure, sir. Go ahead.
When we look at the new alliance, the BRICS that is forming to bring the US dollar down to its knees. And here we are. It is plain as day that Guyana has become a surrogate to some of those members of the new alliance, the BRICS. Do you think the Americans are going to sit by now and have Guyana be a surrogate to something that's going to destroy their economy? They put this government in office. I haven't been seeing any American companies building roads or all these great stuff or buying up, properties. What I'm seeing is Chinese. We're seeing a heavy influx of Spanish people. Not that I have anything against the Spanish people coming here. We're not seeing the Haitians being allowed to come here. We are seeing Indian nationals and Bangladeshi being allowed to come here and take over jobs for our people. Yet we're not seeing anything. So the Americans, they're not stupid. They put these people in office. And now they're not, outside of the oil wealth, they're not getting anything here. Why would I install somebody to run a corporation and I don't have much say, and people who are my enemies, so to speak, are having all, the profits and the benefits. So eventually they will have to correct this mistake that they made. And eventually they will have to apologize to the coalition team of 2020 for observing our democracy.
All right, let's move over. Let's move over to the appointment of, and we'll get back to some of these other matters. Of course, some of these other matters. Let me say that this person looks like Sue, but is not Sue, right? But we'll get back to these things shortly. Let's head over now and talk about the elections inquiry. Reports to be tabled in National Assembly. Let's start off with Mr. Caesar. But before we get to Mr. Caesar, we have been saying this for a while, since the start or the commencement of the Commission of Inquiry into the March 2020 general and regional elections, that it's a farce, it's a fake. Mr. Caesar, your take, sir.
Yeah, Mark, I'm 100% in line with you on that. I kind of watched that press conference, and it hurt my stomach, man. These guys, the PPP is so lawless. It was just obvious. IRFAAN was there, and he said, "Oh, we knew what this COI would have uncovered." And now we see, and then you have Neil Marks come on, and he was man. Look, Mark,
Speaking of people with people of credibility, man.
Yes,
Neil Marks is just a propagandist, but it doesn't worth mention. He's probably in the same category of a critic, but continue.
Yeah. Look, these people, Mark, these people were installed. They weren't ready to govern. You could see that. They never thought that they would have won that election. You can see it in their faces. You can see it in their actions. Anil was there. Ali was asking him questions. IRFAAN Ali couldn't even answer some of the questions that the reporters had for him. He had to call Anil.
He's never been able to answer questions.
He had to call someone else. I don't even know if they were able to answer the young lady's questions. But that COI, man, was a waste of the taxpayers' money. It is sad. It is sad to see the way people are punishing in Guyana and you take taxpayers' dollars that can be going somewhere else to allocate to this garbage COI.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars spent on a fake, because that's what it is, a fake COI. Now, let's head back to, before we get Mr. Crawford's comment, let's head back to when there was the Commission of Inquiry for the Lindo Creek. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Lindo Creek massacre. This is what Jack Dale said. Inquiry into Lindo Creek massacre launches on Wednesday. This was a couple of years back under the coalition. Jack Dale says probes will distract polarized Guyana. A probe into the murders of a half a dozen men under questionable circumstances. He's saying that it's a distraction. So then what the heck is this? This probe is more than just a distraction. It's to cover up the deeds, the wrong, the corruption, the rigging by Jack Dale, the PPP, IRFAAN Ali, Anil, and that puppet that they have standing up behind them. Notice the puppet behind them is peeping, you know. Mr. Crawford, your take on this, according to the PPP and Jack Dale, them damning elections, I don't know. Fake report, fake, what is it, inquiry? Mr. Crawford, take it over.
Mark, my thing on this is that the COI is a slap in our judicial face. It's also total disrespect and disregard for the people of Guyana, especially under the hardship with the rising cost of living. Just off this COVID lockdown, the collapse of the sugar industry for some. The time that we are spending all of these monies, and it amounts to a fraudulent behavior and mismanagement or misappropriation of funds. We should have gone to the courts and asked for a speedy expedition of the election petition and put the doubts to rest.
Mr. Crawford, we have never disagreed, at least for a long time on this show. Please, my blood is boiling up when you're talking about this. They don't want an election petition. They don't want the election petition to go to the court because it's going to open up, and as we say in Guyana, it's going to skin them up. And Jack Dare doesn't want to be skinned up publicly. Sorry, I did say publicly. He doesn't want to be skinned up publicly. So they prefer to go to this so-called commission of inquiry. And you're correct. I'm actually agreeing with you. They don't want the commission of inquiry because it's going to skin them up. So what they prefer to do is to basically gather some men, pay them hundreds of millions of Guyana dollars to come up with a report that they want. This report was cooked. You go in a kitchen, you cook up with gilbaka, all sorts of things. Catfish, it was cooked up. This is a fake commission of inquiry. These are the same people that Jack Dare, the IRFAAN, and them ran from exactly what you mentioned, the petition. They ran from the petition like Usain Bolt. They don't want the petition. They don't want anything that is credible. They charged 3 persons, placed them before the court, well, more than 3, for elections fraud, electoral fraud. Roxanne Myers, Keith Lowenfield, Mingo. To this day, approaching 3 years now, they can't find no evidence, nothing against those people. But suddenly, they claim at a commission of inquiry where they wasted hundreds of millions of dollars to say the damning elections inquiry. Damning! Oh my gosh! To say to the public, and there's, look at what happened. Oh, this is damning. Why did they rush to prevent the elections petitions? Why can't they find any evidence 3 years now to present in court that they wrongfully charged those individuals? But they want us to believe and embrace this trash, this piece of, you know what? But damning elections report. Come on, guys. Damning elections report. I'm going to shut my mouth for about 5 minutes. Give you guys the floor. Continue, JR.
Well, you see, we as a nation have to take responsibility in having all these frivolous arms of this installed government operating and taking our monies. The monies that are doled out to the people in this COI could have gone to ease the burden of the cost of living on the less fortunate in this country. Now, a few folks are going to come off filthy rich off of something that it's not going to bring truth to the people. It is a form of milking the state. Also, the opposition team should have been hammering away at this since it was mentioned, not to allow it to come to fruition. This is where that we are having the problem. We need a constant attack mode opposition team. We cannot have an opposition team that comes up for air, make some noise, and go back. We are doing the country a disservice, and I don't know if everybody's not seeing this thing. We are on a carbon copy of Sri Lanka's downfall. We are going to be in that same position within a year. If oil collapses, what happens then? We are not hearing anything about the agriculture sector being a major focus. All we are seeing are these foolish notion about roads. The roads are built and they're not proper. They're disposable roads. They're there just for show. And in a couple of months, they're gone. Why aren't we demanding that?
The quality of the road, Crawford. The quality of the road.
The quality is not only that, but the total construction. You're having space for 12 feet of road, and you're making an 8-9 feet road width.
It's a PPP, you know, so we can't expect anything better. Corruption upon corruption upon corruption. But this damning elections report, this so-called, this farce, this is like comedy. And look, the comedians right there, Muff, Jep, or whatever it is, all of them right there in one package. Mr. Crawford, let's
Mark,
get Caesar's
before you go to, right, another guilty part, another guilty thing on this is the international bodies allowing this PPP government to fleece the country of resources that could be directed to social welfare for our people. Why do they allow this sort of nonsense when the courts are there to do its job?
Absolutely. This so-called damning report, this is a comedy show. Comedy indeed, Anil Sugrim. Comedy indeed. Fake, fraud report. It was set. Of course, the report could not have said anything better because they sat down and this is what they wanted, because it satisfies them from an optic standpoint. Oh, this is what we're going to plaster it. We're going to take away the attention from the hundreds of forgeries where they're forging people's signature, putting it on the PPP's list. The people coming out and saying, "Mina, put me name there." Dead people. Dead people. I don't know, JR, you could go tomorrow, maybe at Kilmarnock Cemetery or Eversham Cemetery and interview some of those dead persons there and see what's going on. I might
see my parents up there too. I got to be careful.
Well, that's why I said Eversham and Kilmarnock. I didn't say Big Island side because I didn't want you to go there because your father was going to dig a hole for you. Mr. Caesar, what's going on with this so-called damning? Hold on, let me finish laughing. This damning elections inquiry report. Over to you, Mr. Caesar.
Well, Mark, look, the PPPC had to come back with something, right? Because we see what's going on with the local government elections right now. So we're seeing what's actually showing up, and we're seeing that the PPP are the ones who are actually trying very hard, not even to rig, they are rigging the local government elections. They are, and they were caught red-handed. You know, not just with their shorts down, but with both hands in the cookie jar. So this was just an attempt to kind of distract the people from what's actually going on right now. Right? This was an attempt to this is just a little smoke, well, not even a little smoke screen. They had to come out with something big. Like they said, damning elections inquiry, right? And you also see they have their possible law changes. That's ridiculous right there. Because whatever law they're going to try to put in place, they would not communicate and work with the opposition on this. They're going to just take their one-seat majority mark and come and instill some new law that benefits them, like they always do. And that's where I have a problem with the whole system. You know, to me, it's easy to just come and just put a law in place. No, it should not be that easy.
It
You know,
shouldn't, but
especially Mark, when we are talking about these riggers, these guys are riggers, and the Attorney General is a disingenuous person.
oh,
He is very
you
biased.
couldn't
He's not
believe
independent. You
you
know,
couldn't believe anything coming from these guys. And Winston Henry says it here, and we agree with him. Mutt, Jeff Archie, and Jughead. Mutt, Jeff Archie, and Jughead. That is what they are about. A bunch of losers right there. The Elections Commission's inquiry report is a waste of time. It's comic. Now let's go to speaking of the report and the comical nature of that report. We want to touch now on, as we said, this report, this inquiry into Lindo Creek massacre. Jagdir said basically, in other words, it was a waste of time. That is what he said. And many folks would remember that the Lindo Creek massacre, look, the Bonnie Harry, Cecil Arrowcam, Clifton Wong, Compton Spears, Dax Arrowcam, hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly, Harris Drakes, Lancelot Lee, and Nigel Torres, all died at Lindo Creek in Region 10. They died, not under mysterious circumstances, but they wanted the police and the army that conducted, they actually know, and we'll get to that shortly, they knew what happened. And so they burnt these guys' bodies. They burnt the bodies of these guys. And in order to make it look as though it was a fine man gang that was on the loose that actually murdered these guys, when in fact the commission of inquiry led to the high possibility of the police and army being involved in this massacre, where they thought, the police and the army, they thought that these guys were wanted men in the camp. And so they opened fire on the camp, killing these guys. That's just my way of putting this whole crime scene together. And then after they found out that it's the wrong set of guys, they decided to throw kerosene or whatever it is and burn the bodies, burn the tent. The police and army need to answer to this here. Now, at that commission of inquiry, Justice Trotman, Donald Trotman that is, says, sticking to his guns, and told the Guyana Chronicle during an interview that he has made strong recommendations in the report submitted to President Granger for criminal investigation into the massacre to be reopened due to sloppy work done by the previous investigators. Now, sloppy work done by the previous investigators, and it continues here. The investigation at reference was conducted by the Military Criminal Investigations Department, MSET, and when completed, it had cleared the joint services. Now, the joint services was actually, allegedly that is, involved in the massacre of these guys. Included policemen, army officers, and so forth. Now that, and the reason why I brought this up now, another commission of inquiry, and we were told that this guy, Omar Khan, and Hicken, and former Commissioner of Police Silal, who was crime chief then, they were on the scene. Allegedly, they were on the scene. And they can shed some light as to who really killed, who massacred those folks at Lindo Creek. Who did that? We still want to know. The family members still want to know. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are the ones who killed them, but I'm asking a question, whether they killed these guys or not, whether they massacre these guys or not. Now, I say this about the Commission of Inquiry because as of tomorrow, Omar Khan, who has been promoted now to brigadier, will become the new chief of staff of the Guyana Defense Force. And the question is whether the new chief of staff, Brigadier Omar Khan, is willing to take a lie detector test, whether he's willing to walk into the U.S. Embassy, the Canadian Embassy, or the British Embassy to take a lie detector test as to whether he was there on the day that these guys were murdered, that they were massacred. I don't know how much you guys remember that, but I'm simply asking a question whether those guys were killed in the presence of this guy, who is now the chief of staff of the Guyana Defense Force, and whether Hicken, who is the acting commissioner of police, was there at the time, and we can also call out former commissioner of police Silal Prasad. These guys need to take a lie detector test. Let's get your take, please, sir, on the appointment of this guy as the new chief of staff, Omar Khan. Crawford?
Mark, it is unfortunate, but I'm not surprised that he was appointed. I think that there are more senior members of the defense force who should have been ahead of him. I knew that when he had resigned under the other administration, I think his rank wasn't up there to be to that spot now. But when he came back, he suddenly got all these jumps. Because like the police force, we've seen where people have gone from corporal straight to inspector and these things. So what we're seeing is the deck being stacked at every arm. So the control is in one particular political party. And it's a dangerous game to play because you're going to find somewhere along the line, people are not going to take it easy. And I keep saying this for years. It may look like nobody is going to rise up, but something is going to break the camel's back. This appointment should not have been. And again, all of this monkey stuff that's going on, why aren't we hearing from the international bodies that are so bold to say that they are the champion for democracy and fairness of government? They cannot open their mouth when it comes to Guyana. What is it that they're getting that is so important to keep their tongues tied and, to disrespect a complete nation so a selective few can do as they please? The citizens of this country will revolt one of these days. And I'm saying we are in that realm as Sri Lanka, and we are going to see it sooner or later.
Sooner than later, indeed. Let's get Mr. Caesar, your take, please, especially the fact that I'm publicly calling on these guys to take, especially Omar Khan, now the new chief of staff of the Guyana Defense Force, to say whether he was part of a party, a team, when these hardworking miners were murdered on that day in Lindo Creek, whether he was part of that team, whether he pulled his trigger. I don't know. I'm just asking a question. And whether he's willing to take a lie detector test. Because we cannot have sitting as chief of staff of the army someone who is responsible for a massacre, that was part of a massacre. Now, I'm not saying that that is the case with him. I'm saying that if it happened, then it is dangerous to have someone, whether it's Omar Khan or whomever it is, to sit there as chief of staff of the army. Again, this is not saying that he did it. We're asking a question whether he did it, whether he was there or not, or whether he's willing to take a lie detector test on this whole issue. Family members of these Lindo Creek massacre victims need justice. Mr. Caesar, please, your take.
Mark, it's interesting that you brought up lie detector test. I am not sure who in the PPP would be willing at this point to take a lie detector test. But when it comes to Mr. Omar Khan, during the coalition time, from what I would have heard, he was retired and out of the force at that time. So I find it interesting that he's back, and then once back he just shoots right to the top. And I don't know how it works with the promotions in the Guyana Defense Force, but I think it works very similar to the Guyana Police Force, where seniority do count. And from what I've read, there are a few people, maybe one or two, that are more senior than him. So it's interesting to find that he is the one that is promoted. But that being said, I am not too worried. I am not too worried of, him being at the top of the Guyana Defense Force, because when it's all said and done, these leaders, they have to give orders. And I know that those soldiers, they all have a heart. I am believing that they all have a heart. So to the extent they have a heart, I know and I feel that they will do the right thing. You could have a leader, the PPP is looking at it I feel personally, from a race perspective. That's my opinion. That, okay, we have an Indo-Guyanese at the top of the Guyana Defense Force. Now, that don't mean anything. That don't mean anything. Because to me, it ultimately comes down to who carries the weapons and whether they are going to take orders that are not correct and is not law-abiding. So he
All right.
still have a duty. He still have a duty to execute, to the people of Guyana.
All right, we'll see whether that will happen or not, because lots of question marks behind a lot of these individuals, and that is why we're saying that they should be, Omar Khan should respond to this here as to whether he was there at the Lindo Quick. I spoke with officers who claimed that they were there, and at that time, Omar Khan was the head of MSED, which is the CID investigating department, whatever you want to call it. He was there during the Phantom Squad days and so forth. So we've got to ask these questions, and as to if he's willing to take a lie detector test. We don't know what his connections are with questionable individuals out there at this time. Again, this is, we don't know. We're just asking the question here. We just don't know. Anyways, Guyana Defense Force has a new chief of staff. And the funny thing is that the old chief of staff, Mr. Best, was acting. And on the day, IRFAAN Ali, racist IRFAAN Ali, confirmed Omar Khan as brigadier and the new chief of staff. Confirmed. They never confirmed Mr. Best, BESS. They never confirmed Godfrey Best for all the years he has been there. But today, one day, he retired today, and he was confirmed today, and he hands over to Omar Khan tomorrow. Mr. Crawford, you're shaking your head. Funny, right? But it's not.
Well, two things. They can't confirm the acting Chief Justice nor the Chancellor. Again, racism has reared its head there. Two, what I know for a fact, if you're a PPP thug, you will be able to obtain a firearm license as a way of arming their supporters in the event they need them to turn their weapons against those who don't support. And citizens who have a high value to our society are being denied the right to bear arms because they speak out or they do not support the current administration. Now, these behaviors are going to have serious repercussions, because you're finding little punks that has license to carry firearms, and valuable citizens in very high positions are being denied the right to bear firearms because they do speak out against this current administration. I would like to know, if I do apply for one, what they will do. It will be hell if they deny me if I do decide to go that route.
And in terms of, get your point there, in terms of this new chief of staff of the army and allegations and so forth, and the fact that one day before Mr. Godfrey Best hands over to Omar Khan. Omar Khan is starting on the first day as chief of staff of the Guyana Defense Force. He's starting that as acting. Confirmed. And as you've said, they cannot confirm the acting chief justice. They cannot confirm the acting chancellor. They didn't confirm Godfrey Best for all the years he has been there acting as chief of staff of the Guyana Defense Force. But a few hours more to go, and they decided to confirm him. The confirmation is an insult.
Good. You know what I want? You know what's insulting?
What the confirmation does is basically gives him all of his benefits. So he walks
right,
away.
But hold on a second, Mark. How do the ship jumpers feel now that certain ethnicities can only be acting and cannot be confirmed? So they, at the end of their stretch, they would have some monetary benefits. You find all these.
The ship jumpers don't care. The ship jumpers don't care, Mr. Crawford. Look,
but
jumpers don't
if
care.
If you look at the ones who are always acting, it's one particular ethnicity, as compared to the ones who are confirmed. And then, you find this newly found brotherhood of folks who are joining the PPP, and they're saying they now see the light. How do they feel? You got the mayor, the former mayor of New Amsterdam, who have done nothing, who have never stood up when the bridge was being built to destroy the economics of New Amsterdam, who have had questionable land deals, who have been recruiting people, telling them it's their democratic right to support who. That's fine, but do it in the right manner. You're supporting an organization that does not have respect for all Guyanese. They only want to show certain love for people if you don't cast their vote for them. What happens if there is a ban on all mobile devices come election and they don't get the result that they paid for? GCOM should make sure that no one can take a picture of who they vote for. So those who are told, show me the picture and you're going to get paid that you supported us, they cannot take pictures. So the people will be further against the wall. But we're not seeing a constant pressure to these people. The PPP is on the ropes, yes. But we need everybody to come out there and hit this number. It's a total disrespect. There should not be anything about Black and Indian. It should be about your ability and the right to have a position if you've earned it, not a buddy system. And when you're creating a military arm in the sense of giving thugs licensed firearm to use against fellow citizens in the event of a certain coded message. This thing is going to backfire. I'm telling you this.
It certainly will. You did mention earlier gun licenses going in the hands of criminals, known criminals, drug lords, and so forth.
People who can't read and write, Mark, has gun license. They can't write their names.
Yep. Friends and cronies are given gun licenses. It's just a matter of time before it backfires indeed, because those very criminals that they're giving gun licenses to, Mr. Caesar, you have anything to say? Can our operator remove that this hustler, this flat-foot hustler off the screen, please? Just remove that flat-foot hustler. Go ahead, Mr. Caesar. Anything you wish to add? It's 8 minutes after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, sure, Mark. When it comes to Mr. Godfrey Best, it's embarrassing. It's a shame with what occurred, with him. But we need to keep in mind that it was David Granger who promoted him to acting, right? he should have been confirmed at that time. I don't see no reason why he should not have been. But IRFAAN Ali's was never going to confirm him. Granger didn't do it. Why is Ali going to do it? It's the same thing with Yannette Cummins and Roxanne George. Granger did not do it. And when Ali came out of the court hearing the other day and they interviewed him, his answer, based on his answer, what I interpret from his answer, he's not going to have any consultation with the opposition anytime soon to get that done. We're going to get to elections in 2025, and it's going to be the same thing. They're not going to be confirmed. I can say that.
Wayne?
Yeah, JR, go ahead.
Well, and keep in mind that Mr. Godfrey Best was promoted to brigadier on in the month of July 2020. During
Right,
the whole big
in the lymph node
fiasco, and the then current chief of staff was not yet in retirement, and so be careful with that. In July,
well, the coalition was in lymph mode, Mark, so they could not have been confirmed.
Exactly. The coalition, Mr. Best was promoted in July 2020. A couple days after that, there was the chief of staff who had gone into retirement or pre-retirement, and so there's a whole host of legality behind that. But I get your point. But I'm just reminding you that he was just promoted in July of 2020 to brigadier, and subsequently took over as acting chief of staff at the time when the actual substantive chief of staff was in pre-retirement mode. But Mr. Crawford.
Wayne, that point you raised about the Chief Justice and the Chancellor, and what your takeaway from Ali's disposition. Look, don't sweat that issue, because it's going to turn around and bite them when it matters most. Trust me on that one. Remember, look what's coming up, and payback is a bitch. Trust me, it's going to bite them. The more they deny the confirmation of those two individuals, trust me, there is going to be a blowback. And it's going to be a selective blowback, and it's going to be the most important hit of the innings.
Let's get, as we prepare to wrap up here now, be mindful that we are on the radio and our language indeed. Let's, as we prepare to close here, I want to take this question here to the accountant first to start off with. The sale of the Marriott is on hold because bids are lower than hotels' value. Lies. Again.
Lie, definitely, Mark.
Go ahead, accountant.
Listen, Mark, like you and JR was saying, right here on 107.1, we skinned them up. We skinned them up because they were selling a profitable asset. They were basically giving away this hotel to one of their cronies, and we skinned them up on it. This Marriott, furthermore, I do have some advice to the PPP. You guys want to build a hotel up at Tamari? Let it be a Marriott chain. Let it be a hotel that's owned by the people of Guyana like this one. Mark, it is not advised that government get into these type of businesses. But when we speak of Guyana, and how we do business, the people who own business in Guyana, the disparity in who owns business in Guyana, when we look at it from an Indo-Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, or if we want, we could look at all ethnic groups, the disparity is tremendous. So I would say the government needs to make some of these private investments to get some type of a balance here, right? This Marriott hotel here, guys, this Marriott hotel have a shelf life as long as we have oil coming through Guyana, as long as we have tourism, it has a shelf life. This asset is not going to be disposable for maybe another 25 years. So it's ridiculous what this man was trying to do. And he always goes out there and challenge our young economist, Mr. Elson Lowe. Mr. Jagdeo, I want you to bring those things to me. You come with this nonsense to me. You guys are just trying to give away the Marriott. Like you're giving away everything, like you're selling Guyana out to all the foreign investors. Let's make some investments to the people in Guyana. Let some money flow to the people that they can in turn invest. We don't need just foreigners coming in and taking everything from us. This, Mark, I'm happy that this happened. I hope that the Marriott continues to be in the government hand in the near future. I do hope so. And the coalition should be fighting this also. There is no consultation. You just picking up assets and just selling it just like that. This asset is very, very profitable. I can tell you that. I don't even have to look at their books. I can tell you that. I rest my case, Mark.
Mr. Crawford, your take on this whole thing?
Wayne, I do agree with you, but keep in mind that no government owns anything. It's the people of the country that owns the Marriott.
Correct. Correct.
Hence,
I
the government. So when you say the government, you're handing power to an installed group of people. Now, I've said it, I think about 3.5, 4 years ago, that there should have been a hotel at Timiri, because at that time, Carl Greenwich announced that we will be a hub for some in-transit flights. And it didn't make sense for someone to come in and had to wait for a connecting flight for 12 hours to come down to Georgetown to travel on that speed bump and then, rest for 4 hours and then go back up the road. The Marriott they should open a twin, and it should be governed by the airport. It will create more employment, albeit equal employment opportunity. Also, we must have 50% of the investment controlled by the people of Guyana and not 100% privatization, because that is where you have the wrongdoings, and it's not good for a country to put all its operation in private hands. You can't control the private citizen who owns the entities.
But
and you're going
the other thing too, Mr. Crawford, the other thing too, we must not forget that the reason why Jagdeo is now coming out to say that it's not going to go to this guy, because this guy was under investigations. There was a court matter. He was caught by the court allegedly of doing a bunch of questionable things. And these are the people that now Jagdeo and IRFAAN, you see IRFAAN is there with the highest bidder. They're hugging, they're kissing up. He was smiling. $65 million he placed a bid for the Marriott. They all were happy about this. Don't be fooled by what Jagdeo is saying now. They were happy about this deal until it was revealed recently, a couple days ago, that this guy was under investigations in the US and lost a case for fixing, based on what the court ruled, that he was caught fixing stuff.
Yeah, he's a pump and dump guy.
Mark,
yes, sir.
He is under investigation by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's big. That's major. Okay, so there's no way that he's going to get a deal in Guyana.
So IRFAAN Ali, Jagdeo now comes up with this Jim Cock bring Ram Goat story, and this is what he wants us to believe. Sale of Marriott on hold because bids are lower than hotel value. One second, please. He wasn't saying this all the time. For over a week, $65 million US dollars. He wasn't saying that this businessman placed that bid, $65 million. He didn't have a problem then, but because this guy has been exposed, Jack Dave is now saying that he has a problem. The bids are lower. But here is what has happened. The bids are not lower. The next highest bidder is a guy by the name of Robert Badal. Robert Badal is the owner of the Pegasus. And Jack Dave doesn't want the second highest bidder, who happens to be Robert Badal, to be the owner of the Marriott, because he has something personal against Robert Badal. Lots of things personal against Badal. Jack Dave is a vindictive and a wicked individual. And that's this whole thing, you know. It's not about lower, the bids are low. No, the highest bidder got caught with his pants down. He's out. The next lowest bid, or the lower bid, goes to Robert Badal, but Jack Dave doesn't want. That's it. That's exactly what's happening, guys. As we prepare to wrap up, man. I'm getting old and I'm getting tired.
Mark,
closing remarks.
You got to check Mark to make sure that this guy in the U.S. didn't make some payments on behalf of the PPP.
No, stop it.
We got to.
No, please stop it. We're about to get off. Let's get off on the wrong side. The PPP don't take bribe. They don't take bribe.
Well, Mark, they were basically handing over the Marriott. They were basically handing the Marriott.
I can just imagine how much money
something for them.
Hand over.
We got to find out what he did for them.
Mark, Mark,
probably greased their hand.
There are a few people in the PPP that are celebrating the whole of the sale of the Marriott. That I can tell you. Because they were against the Marriott being sold. They are very high-ranking officials. And they are against a private hotel at Timeri. That I can say. That's that much I can say.
The PPP has a history. Look at this guy. This Marriott sale went down the drain because of this guy. Reminds me of
no, Mark.
Go ahead.
No, the Marriott sale went down because one, there are some international people who were asking questions that the citizens have now realized that you're selling profitable entities and you keep pumping billions into failed entities. It doesn't look good on the record.
They got caught because this deal was already set. This guy here that IRFAAN Ali is hugging up and pushy hand in a man jacket pocket or whatever, got another deal to build prefabric house or something like that, right?
Yes.
And all these things. So he's getting deals in Guyana now, but they just couldn't go ahead with this. And watch what he's going to do. He's not going to do business in Guyana. He's going to pull out.
No, he's a pump and dump guy, and he's under international watch.
Right. And so in terms of the watch, in terms of business, because he's still doing his business and so forth. However, the next bid, the next lowest bid or highest bid, is Robert Badal of the Pegasus. Jack Dave doesn't want Robert Badal to own anything or whatever. But you remember there was another corrupt guy that IRFAAN Ali was with that started up an airline who robbed a set of old people nursing home. Sorry, Francine, but a set of nursing homes out in Florida. Easy.
Yep.
Remember that? Easy death. Yeah. The guy may be coming out of jail soon. Another friend of the PPP, friend of IRFAAN Ali, and so forth. So they seem to be running into all these different guys, man.
Mark.
Yeah.
There's also a law where it states only 3 casinos per county. All right?
Yes, sir.
So figure the rest out.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, we're looking at the time, 10:22. Briefly, closing remarks. Who goes first?
Take it away, Wayne.
All right, sure. So I think Mr. Crawford had sent me a picture of the WIM post office. Am I correct, JR?
Yeah.
Good. We're planning to build a new stadium in Barbies. Our electrical grid is a mess, right? But we're building a new stadium. Our post offices across the country needs to be upgraded. They all need a facelift. Okay. Like Mr. Crawford also said, they're distributing gun license like if it's out of style. Plus, we have
Speaking of gun license, they're giving guns to any and anybody now. Gun license. Check what's going on there.
yeah,
Check what's going on there with them guns and the people showing off with their guns and all kind of thing. Just check what's going on there. This is the example for business people. And only certain kinds of business people getting them kind of guns to show off with and thing, you know. But sorry, it's your turn in closing remarks.
Mark, do you have that picture available? The one with the same guy here and May's husband.
Lots of photos, lots of photos. But continue
Yeah.
with your closing remarks. Don't try to buy more time.
Yeah, no, I ain't buying no more time, Mark. But it's
Go ahead,
you know,
sir.
I see this kind of weapon, and it made me think of that little boy where the bullet came right across the river and killed him. You know, yeah,
Oh yeah.
right. You know, I'm not even gonna worry commenting on that. Let me
Your
continue.
closing remarks. Thank you. We've got to go.
Mark. Yeah, we're gun licenses are being given out freely in Guyana. I think they're trying to be a copycat. Don't look at the US. The US is a very well developed country. It is pretty easy to get a gun here, although we have certain mechanisms in place. I still deem it to be quite easy. And they're having their issues with firearms right now. Guyana, we don't even have a fraction of the mechanisms in place in Guyana. Our borders are wide open. So not just the guns that, you know, people who are getting gun license, but guns are passing freely through our borders also. We don't have proper trauma units in Guyana. You know, to the extent people, you know, someone gets shot, and even with the road accidents, we don't have these units in place. You know, this government need to look at these kind of things, and they need to curtail how they're licensing out guns and who they're licensing the guns to. Yes, because there are a lot of people who are going to clubs and all these different things today with guns. You know, so Guyana, look, if you guys go back, let's go back 3-4 years ago when the coalition was in power. You know, we didn't have this type of violence. You know, people could go to Guyana and walk freely. Today, you can't go to Guyana and walk freely. People getting robbed right and left. People getting shot. It's all kind of tragedies every day. And one last point I want to hit on, Mark. Under the coalition government, anybody could have gone to Guyana on holiday or whatever it is that they wanted to do. Under this dictatorship, they keep threatening Guyanese. You know, they keep threatening foreigners that speak out against them. You know, and their supporters. Oh, if you come home, you're gonna see what's gonna happen. Oh, come home now. You know, and you're gonna see what's gonna happen. You know, I personally, I'm not gonna stand for that nonsense. Anytime I want to go to Guyana, I'm going to Guyana. Nobody's gonna stop me from going to my homeland.
Fair enough. As we move over, thank you so much, Mr. Caesar. But let's move over to Mr. J.R. Crawford for his closing remarks. We've really got to go, guys.
Mark, going back to the PS statement, I think she has done herself a lot of damage. She needs to come clean with the people. She works for the people of Guyana, and she needs to be honest of what has happened. She may have made a mistake of being in association, or it's a known act, or you know, it was conscious. Moving along to the issue on the Marriott. The discussion here on 107 has forced people to take a step back because it was brought to light by us of selling out profitable stuff to friends and cronies and leaving dead entities for the taxpayers to be footing the bill while suffering immensely to try to have 3 square meals on the table. Eventually, we will see an alliance where supporters from the PNC and the PPP will come together the lower end people and rail against the oppressive behavior of this organization or any other politician who continues to make the people a fool. We as leaders cannot take the people for granted. What has happened in Sri Lanka will eventually happen in Guyana. The very people, some of the thugs who they are giving gun license will come on the side of the poor. It's going to have a backlash, and there is always a way of the Almighty making things happen when it seems like it's almost impossible.
All right.
I know for a fact that some members of the PPP hierarchy are happy that the Marriott is not being sold. Again, I can tell you that. And most of all, I would like to see the opposition continue for the last few days what they're doing, and let's bring awareness to the people, regardless if they're our supporters or not, and continue to force the hand of the international people who were part and parcel of derailing our democracy 3 years ago, and keep the pressure. They will have to adhere to new elections. The election petitions must be heard, and damn the COI, because we all know that is to sidetrack the petition. The appointment of the army, big no, it will have its own repercussion and it will correct itself.
All right, Mr. Crawford, thank you so much. Mr. Caesar, thank you too as well. And again, condolences to you, Mr. Crawford, on the passing of your daughter-in-law. See you soon, right here on 107.1 FM. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you, Mark. Good night.
Yeah. And points well taken with regards to all of the things said here tonight. But this is Guyana, where you have a quote-unquote businessman with such a gun. What's the reason for these sort of things and the showing off of these sort of things? And then you pose with a big gun. This is not like back in the days when the ISIS members and some of those those terrorist organizations, you pose with guns and feel that it's okay, huge guns, it's okay to show off. And then the next day you give out 2 cars and 3 cars and you give out some cash and you feel good that you're good, doing good. This is very, very bad. And posting these sort of photos all over, you can tell. This reminds me when I was a little boy from Moscow, a lovely gun that we got from Moscow, in Moscow, Russia, yeah. And I pulled the trigger on this toy gun and it broke. I never forget that Christmas. I was a little boy. Privet, right? Barat, Kagdela, right? Now, and I was vexed, and that was a fake gun. But look what this guy has. Look what this guy has. And they want to parade themselves around Guyana as though they're honest and give me a damn break, man. Somebody look at this. What is happening in Guyana? Please, can somebody say what exactly is happening in Guyana? What is going on? What is happening in Guyana? Look, the permanent secretary also. They're good friends. Oh, good friends. I'm happy that the U.S. authorities seized their goddamn phone. I'm so happy about that. But don't forget that these guys are throwing their T-shirts, their red T-shirts away. Nobody wants it. And I'm told that the guys out in Linden tomorrow morning, I will be sending at least $50 to help them out. I'm told that they're hungry. And when people are hungry, you don't laugh at them. You help them out. So if I can afford $50, maybe $40 or $30, I will do that. I'll send it to these guys, whether you guys like it or not.
Yeah, this is the elite team. The root team. Strong team. Number 1. PPP team. Yeah. You understand? PPP all the way. Yeah, 1 Guyana. Yes. All in the fort for Monday morning. In any weather, rain, sun. We are in the night. We there right here. We ain't going nowhere. We holding it for PPP. Right. PPP all the way.
Yeah, we definitely strong shit.
Yes. Yeah. PPP all the way. Yes. Yeah.
You know, it breaks my heart that I heard a story that these guys are now eating mangoes out of the rubbish bin in Mackenzie Market there, and rotten bananas and all sort of things. I don't know. If you're in Linden and you see them, pull them a corner and give them a mouthful of food, man. Give them something, because it's sad what the PPP has done to them. It's really, really sad. But I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. We've got to fight for that country. We've got to fight for Guyana, you know. We really have to fight for Guyana. It's not a lot of things that are so wrong that's happening in that country. And if we sit down and we continue, those who are silent, they will just keep doing all these wrong things. Look at all their friends and cronies with huge guns and all manner of things, behaving as though Guyana belongs to them. We've got to take Guyana back from these hooligans, these political hooligans. I've got to go, guys. I've got to go. But tomorrow we'll be talking about this woman here.
And you're confident that you're going to deliver credible and fair elections?
Of course. Only one way I know, and that is the correct way. I do not believe in, there's so much negative things in the newspapers. I will not sell my integrity for all the oil in Guyana.
Are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me. You sell your integrity for all the what? What do you think you have done, Claudette? What do you think you have done? Look at that photo. Then look at this one here. I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking you guys to take a quick look. I love you guys. I've got to go. See you. I know you guys want to say something, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut. You guys are not going to force me into saying anything. You guys are not going to force me into saying that I see the resemblance. I'm not going to do that. Have a good night's rest, guys. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. Oh, before I go, Brenda Casey, I haven't seen her in the comment section. Lemon, tonight happens to be her birth anniversary. Happy birthday to you, Brenda. Hope you're enjoying and having fun. And all those who are celebrating their birth anniversary, wedding anniversary, whatever it is, you have our blessings and our love right here from 107.1 FM. And those of you who are going through, you have a death in your family, our condolences as well. God bless you all. See you tomorrow.
Source. Okay, well, maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you, or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jerome?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in.
So this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
we were separated. Now we are free. That's the way it should be. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your sister, help your brothers, help your neighbors, and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude like this, reggae's another day, y'all. Move, y'all.